She was born in a place where dreams were as fragile as the wind, where the soil was wet with the tears of hunger and hope. Her name was Mary Mallon,
Artlist.io.
a girl of Ireland who crossed the ocean not for glory, not for gold, but for a chance to live. She arrived in America with little more than a will to survive, her hands rough from work, her eyes sharp and alive with determination. She found her place in the kitchens of the wealthy homes of New York, where the air was filled with laughter and the scent of food. She was quiet, proud, and skilled. Her cooking spoke for her. She made dishes that filled hearts and stomachs. And yet, behind every meal, a shadow was forming. A shadow no one could see, including her. It began as whispers, a child falling ill, a mother struck by fever, a family weakened and afraid. The doctor searched for a reason and found none, but the trail led again and again to one woman, to one kitchen, to one cook. Mary Mallon. She was called to answer for what no one understood, for a sickness that had no face, no scent, no mercy. She stood in confusion when the health inspectors came, when the doctors followed her through the city. When they took her hand and asked her to come with them, she refused. Because in her mind, she was healthy. She felt strong, alive. She had never been sick. So how could she be the cause of others' pain? The fear of the city grew louder than reason. They called her the invisible killer and dragged her away through the streets of New York, to a small island where the waves hit the rocks like angry fists. That place became her prison, a lonely island that smelled of salt and sorrow. She was kept there like a criminal, though she had committed no crime. Her only guilt was being what the world was not ready to understand: a carrier. A woman whose body carried typhoid without falling to it. The doctors studied her. They spoke of her like a specimen, not a soul. They watched her every move while she sat by the window, staring at the skyline of the city she once served. The laughter of the world carried faintly through the wind. She thought of the kitchens she missed, the warmth of the oven, the sound of a knife cutting through vegetables, the joy of creation, now replaced by silence and stone. She lived there for years, alone, sometimes allowed to walk the shore but always under watch. She wrote letters begging for freedom, telling them she was not a monster, that she only wanted to work again, to live again. But her words were drowned by fear, and science held her captive in the name of safety. One day, they released her, under one condition. She was never to cook again. She promised. She tried to obey. She changed her name and found work washing laundry, scrubbing floors, unseen, unheard. But life has a way of leading us back to what we love. She returned to the kitchen once more, drawn by hunger and pride, and the only skill she ever had. Soon after, people fell sick again, and the whispers returned. Typhoid Mary, they said again and again, until her name became a warning, a curse, something mothers whispered to children at night. She was taken once more, back to the island, this time forever. Years passed, the world changed, the city grew taller, brighter, louder, but Mary remained frozen in time, cooking only for herself, tending to the small garden outside her window. She aged quietly, her hair silver, her hands slower but still remembering the rhythm of the life she once had. She watched ships pass by carrying people free to live while she remained bound to her fate. She wondered if those who feared her would ever see her heart, if they would ever understand that she was never the villain. She was only the face of what science could not explain, a victim of ignorance caught between progress and panic. In the final years, she grew sick. Not from typhoid, but from loneliness, from the weight of being misunderstood. She died, as quietly as she lived, in that same island kitchen surrounded by the scent of food and the echo of silence. The newspapers wrote of her death with the same tone of judgment. The woman who spread disease, they said, but no one spoke of her tears. No one spoke of her endless waiting, of her quiet kindness, of the meals that once brought joy before fear took it all. In truth, Mary Mallon was never evil. She was a reflection of a world still learning to see the invisible, still learning that knowledge without compassion is just another form of cruelty. Her story became a lesson, though few cared to learn it. A reminder that fear can imprison the innocent, that science can forget the soul behind the subject. In another life and another time, she might have been a beloved chef remembered for her recipes, not her reputation. But fate chose differently, and history wrote her name in ink darker than she deserved. Condemned without a cure, her legacy drifts like mist over the waters of New York, carried by the winds that whispered through the ruins of that lonely island. And if you listen closely, you can almost hear her voice, gentle, steady, asking the question that was never answered. What did I do wrong? Why me? And the sea keeps her secret, the same way history keeps its guilt buried deep where no one dares to look. From Mary, the cook who became a ghost in her own time, a woman whose story still lingers in every tale of fear and every debate of freedom against safety. She became more than a name. She became a mirror showing us how easily compassion can vanish when fear takes its place. And so the world moves on, remembering her not as she was, but as she was painted. And maybe that is the truest tragedy of all. Because Mary Mallon was human, and humans are not meant to be condemned forever.